When you have emotional problems, it is usually because you have no outlets. You need emotional outlets.
I need emotional outlets. What kind of emotional outlets would you suggest?
This football is a perfect answer. There's no better emotional outlet than kicking a football. To sum it all up in one phrase, Charlie Brown, you could kick away your faults. You won't be disappointed, Charlie Brown. This time, I have a little extra surprise as a bonus.
I'm gonna kick the habit. This is the end of all my faults.
And now for the surprise. Would you like to see how that looked on instant replay? Hum-de-dum.
Instant replay?
Dee-doo, hum-hum-hum. Dee-dum, hum-dee-dum. Here you are, Charlie Brown. Now I'm going to run through this at slow motion. I think we must carefully analyze your every move, your every expression. Dee-la-da, dee-dee. See how erratic your movements are? Look at your face. Those bad personality traits we spoke about stand out clearly. Now, see the look of determination on your face? All sham, Charlie Brown. A failure face if I ever saw one. In turn, see how benign and composed my face is, Charlie Brown? And your clumsiness, Charlie Brown. Shall we run through it once more at normal speed?
No, I don't think so.
Charlie Brown, now Charlie Brown.
I can't believe it. She must think I'm the most stupid person alive.
Come on, Charlie Brown. I'll hold the ball and you kick it.
Hold it? Ha! You'll pull it away and I'll land flat on my back and kill myself.
But Charlie Brown, it's Thanksgiving.
What's that got to do with anything?
Well, one of the greatest traditions we have is the Thanksgiving Day football game. And the biggest, most important tradition of all is the kicking off of the football.
Is that right?
Absolutely. Come on, Charlie Brown. It's a big honor for you.
This time I'm gonna kick that football clear to the moon!
Isn't it peculiar, Charlie Brown, how some traditions just slowly fade away?
Can I just turn back the clock and forget my sins? I just wanna roll my sleeves up and start again. I know that I messed it up time and time again, but I just wanna roll my sleeves up and start again.
Starting a new series to kick off the new year called Starting Again, or Start Again. How do we know that next time won't be like the last time? And that's a question you always ask whenever you watch Charlie Brown trying to kick that darn football. At least I did growing up. I don't know how many of the different cartoons he tries to kick the football in, but of course he never does. The reality, though, is few people know why Lucy pulls the football away. And the answer to that goes back to the comic strip. Now, I got to explain what a comic strip is because only some of y'all in here know what it is. Back in the day, we got our information. There was no internet, social media, Twitter, that kind of stuff. It actually came in paper form, and we just called it the paper. And it would show up at your house on a subscription. You actually had to pay for information back then. And the best part of it, if you were a kid, was a thing called the comics, or the funny strips, whatever you might call them. And so Charlie Brown was originally a comic strip, and they're usually just 4 picture windows, and sometimes it might take a whole week for you to get the full story in the comic strip. Well, those movies were from the late 60s, early 70s. Back in 1950, there was a comic strip that ran in 1953 in which Lucy is actually by herself trying to kick the football. See, this is what you don't know. Charlie Brown walks up after she tries and she misses, and Charlie Brown says to her, "You're hopeless. That was the worst attempt at kicking I've ever seen." And Lucy says, "Well, after all, I'm just a little girl, you know." Keep in mind, this is the 50s, right? It's 50s, so different time. Don't get on Charles Schultz. It's, judge him in his era. And Charlie Brown says, "Well, little girls don't belong on football fields. Go home." I know, we've progressed. We've progressed. Charlie Brown's progressed, but this is the back. I'm giving you the backstory, right? And Lucy says, "Well, I don't understand. I was the star fullback in nursery school." And Charlie Brown says, "Well, don't stand around here. Go on home. Get out of here." And from that point on, you see, it changes the whole dynamic of the story, doesn't it, right? It changes the whole dynamic of the story. If you didn't know that, you wouldn't know why Lucy pulled the football away. See, and some of y'all now are thinking to yourself, "You go, girl. All right, yeah, she should. Yeah, telling telling her to go home. We'll see how he likes it the rest of his life." That's not our focus of this morning's message. Our focus of the morning's message goes back over to Charlie Brown. Every single episode, he tries to kick the ball. Now, in the comic strips, it happens far more. There's far more comic strips of him trying it than there ever is of him in the cartoons. And he tries again and again and again, and he never kicks the football. There's that old thing, if you don't understand your history, you're destined to repeat it. I think that came from, I looked it up, in 1905, a guy named George, I have it in my notes somewhere, George Santayana says, he wrote, "Those who cannot remember their past are condemned to repeat it." Charlie Brown, why is it that Charlie Brown continued to go for that football and miss it? I think he thought, this time's going to be different. This time's going to be different because Lucy promised. This time's going to be different because it's Thanksgiving. This time is different because Lucy's given me a handwritten note that she signed saying she's going to do it, but it wasn't notarized. This time, Lucy, there's all kinds of them over the years, right? Do you know why this time's not going to be different? Because the reason she's pulling the ball away is because what Charlie Brown said, and maybe if he apologized, maybe she might leave the ball there for him. But because he's never apologized, perhaps that's the reason she's continued to pull the ball away. And so he tries again, and he tries again, and he tries again, and he gets the exact same result. And so this morning, that's kind of what we're going to be talking about over the course of this series, is why is it that even though we get the opportunity to start again, we continue to do the same things over and over again? One of the best things about the new year is the realization and understanding of the way that God has structured time itself, and that all time, the way God has presented it to us, is cyclical. We have 24 hours, the sun comes up, and every day is a brand new day. There are 7 days, and on the seventh day, God rested from all that he did, and on on Sunday, a new day started. I think it was a Saturday he rested. And on Sunday, a new day started again, so we have a new week. So weeks are cyclical. And then, of course, we have seasons, which are cyclical. We have winter, and we have spring, we have summer, we have fall. They're predictable. They're seasonal. They just come around, and no matter how bad winter is, you know that spring is coming and summer is going to be here eventually. And then, of course, every year it takes us 365 days to make a trip around the sun, and we start a new year. And so it's as if God has worked in the idea that there are fresh starts that happen every day, every week, every month, every season, every year of your life, that you can start again and start again and start again. The shame of it, though, is we rarely take advantage of these fresh starts that God gives us. We continue to make the same mistakes over and over again, except for in areas that don't really matter much. It's like we seem to be a lot better at learning from our mistakes when we're doing trivial things like playing games. If you're a gamer, you like playing any kind of game, whether it be video games, board games, card games. The first time that you try it out, they call you a noob and you don't really know a whole lot. It's the fact that you've never done it, you don't understand the strategy of it. And unless it's one of those just dumb games that's about nothing but luck, which I can't stand playing because, what's the point of playing a game that's just like Candyland? It's nothing but luck, right? That's what card came up, luck of the draw. Unless, of course, maybe you're the kind of parent that always keeps a lollipop up your sleeve or, counts out 17 cards and, oh, look at there, lollipop, daddy goes to the end, game over. I'm not cheating because I want to win. I'm cheating because I don't want to play the game. But I agreed to play the game. I just didn't say I wouldn't cheat to make it quicker. You know what I'm saying, right? A lot better than that little flicker game where you got to spin the thing for chutes and ladders. No, Candyland you can rig, right? Anyways, I digress. The whole point is we tend to learn from our past mistakes when it comes to games. Let's do a redo. Let's start over again. And when you start over again, oftentimes you'll do better the more that you've played a game. The same way with other things like hobbies, your woodworking or your crafting skills gets better over time. We learn, and every time we start again and start fresh and get a second chance at something like that, we do a lot better the second time. But when it comes to the big things in life, like relationships and finances and career opportunities and such, oftentimes we make the same mistake again and again and again, and we think that this time it'll be different, only to find out that the next time it's not very different at all. And so like Charlie Brown, we ask ourselves, why did I do that? It's funny, that's actually a similar question to what Jesus asks the Apostle Paul when he first calls Paul into ministry. Now, Paul, just to give you a little background on him, this is a guy who originally hated Jesus and fought to destroy Christianity. Jesus confronts him on a road one day when he's off to go carry out his violent threats, has a conversation with him, and then from that point on, Paul becomes the biggest evangelist, greatest evangelist the world has ever known, ends up writing about 2/3 of your New Testament. But when Jesus first has this conversation with him, he says this thing. He says, it's recorded in Acts 26 when Paul is giving an account of it. He says, Jesus says to me, Saul, Saul, why do you persecute me? Isn't it hard for you as you kick against the goads? Now, goads, what is a goad? It looked kind of like a fire poker, okay? So it has like pokey things on it. They would put it on if you had an oxen who's trying to plow your grain, plow your field, the oxen would pull, there'd be this rod that would come back into the plow that would go in the ground. They'd put a goad on that rod because an animal's instinct when it's got something on it is to kick it away, right? And so when the animal would go to kick and try to break the plow stick, there'd be a goad on there. And so as they kicked, they would get a spur into the back of their leg. I don't want to hear your animal cruelty stuff. This is just ancient history. The way they did it back then, they had different standards. Peter wasn't around. So they would kick, and typically after a couple times kicking it, they would learn, don't kick the goad, right? But there were some animals that were just stubborn. Maybe you've got a dog like this. It's just stubborn. No matter how many times they get hit with the electric fence or whatever it is you've done for your training method, they just keep right on after it. And so this is what Jesus is asking Paul. He's like, Paul, how long will you kick against the goads? How long will you continue to do something that is hurtful, destructive, painful in your life, not learning from your past experience? How long will you continue to do? How long will you kick against the goads? It's a question that maybe you wanted to ask your teenagers. Maybe you wanted to ask your best friend. How long will you kick against the goads, so to speak? How long will you continue to make the same mistake again and again and again? So that's where we're going to be going over the next couple weeks. We say we learn the hard way, but so oftentimes we don't actually learn anything. We just keep going the hard way. So over the next couple weeks, we'll be looking at 3 things that we can do so the next time won't be like the last time. This morning, though, I'm going to quickly just kind of go over what I would say maybe are 3 misunderstandings or misconceptions or misleading assumptions that we have that lead us to continue to make the same mistakes. This is not an exhaustive list. This would just be probably top 3 on the list, top 3 answers on the board. What assumptions are you making that lead you to make the same mistake again and again and again? Before I get to the first one, I got to tell a story that my former father-in-law used to share about 3 guys he knew who used to go up to Alaska to go king salmon fishing. They met when they were in college and took a fishing trip up there, and so every couple of years after that, they'd go take a trip. They were in their late 50s or so when this story takes place. They've been going there about 10, this is about their 10th trip up there. They found a place in the northern part of Alaska with a gravel runway where they could charter a plane, get dropped off, stay for the weekend, do the salmon fishing away from all the crowds because it gets very busy up there. I mean, the rivers get so crowded when the salmon are coming up for a spawn. So they found this place was quite secluded where they would have to charter a plane, get dropped off. The plane would then just take off and leave them there for a couple days and then come back on Sunday afternoon and pick them up. So sure enough, the fishing was good, as it always is that year, and the pilot comes back Sunday afternoon. Each guy's caught almost their limit every day. By the way, a king salmon fish can weigh up to about 50 pounds. The rest of the salmon breeds will run you anywhere from 8 to 10 pounds. The king salmon, you can get 1 a day. The other breeds, you can get about 6 a day. So all told, after 3 days of fishing, each guy has between 500 and 800 pounds of fish, right? So just shy of a ton between the 3 of them. Plane comes in, it's a 6-seater. And they start bringing all their gear, and they start bringing out all the fish, and the pilot's looking at all these, like, how much fish you got in there? And they start going over, and the guy's like, this is a six-seater plane. This thing's not made to handle an extra 1,800 pounds. There's no way we're making it off this runway. You're going to have to get rid of some of the fish. Like, no, you don't understand. We do this all the time. We come here a lot. I know your gauges, your map thing for the runway just says, the runway's length. He says, but you got to look out there. The runway's got 50 some odd feet or so of grass on the front end. It's got 50 some odd feet of grass on the other end. When you add that in and you factor it in, also the other issue is if you balance the weight right on this plane. We've done this before. We do this every year. I know this is your first time flying with us. We do this all the time. If you balance the weight right and you go to the full end that you can on the grass, we've done this before. After arguing with the pilot, eventually they go back and forth, and he lets them put just about all the fish on there. And so the pilot, of course, goes to the very end of the grass that he possibly can, beyond the gravel runway strip, goes all the way to the back of the grass, flaps up, full throttle, takes off down the runway. And just as he gets to the end of the gravel, about into the grass, sure enough, the plane just barely starts lifting up. And he is just pulling full back on the throttle, trying to get that thing up. But wouldn't you know, one of the wheels clips one of the trees as it's trying to just make it over the end, and the plane begins to tumble and crashes. All four guys make it out alive, and the pilot looks at him and says, I thought you guys said you knew what you were doing. I thought you guys had done this before. And he goes, well, yeah, this time I thought we would work, though. Which leads to the first misleading assumption. Because I've got experience, next time will be different. We assume that because we've got experience, that next time is going to be different, that because we've done this before, we know what we're doing. It's kind of like when one of my kids says, oh, Dad, I've been doing this my whole life. I've got pants older than you, son. Your whole life. Yeah, whole life. That's a lot of experience there. Yeah, you've been driving now, what, a year and a half? Oh, wow. Oh, my. By all means, watch the phone and have a Big Mac while you're driving down the road. No big deal at all. Have the phone in the other hand. Drive with your knee. I'm sure you can pull it off. See, just because we have experience, we're assuming that we've learned something from past experience. Sometimes we make the same mistake again and again and again, and we continue to have the same issues. There's another misleading assumption with this experience thing is that we assume that next time all the factors are going to be the same as last time. To begin with, is it a fair statement that you are never the same person the next time you do something? Like, you're different. You've had past experiences. You've got hurt. You've got damage. You've gone through some things. You're not the same person. And if it's relationship, the person you're going to get with, they're a different person. So you can't say, well, I'm experienced enough in relationships. I know what to do here. It's sort of like, if you all remember, here I am, old illustrations this morning. There was a lady named Zsa Zsa Gabor back in the day. She was kind of like like a Paris Hilton, Kim Kardashian style, very flamboyant, always out there in the media. She was probably a better known personality than she was even an actress. But she was in, the Green Acres show. I always get that one mixed up with the Beverly Hillbillies. They were basically identical, kind of like Munsters, Addams Family, whatever. Anyway, so actually, side note was my dad actually knew her, and so every once in a while she'd call the house, and it was a hoot, always listen, darling, how are you doing today? She just had that, extravagant voice. That's what she was known for. Well, she was also known for the fact that she got married. She'd been married 9 times. Been through 7 divorces and 1 annulment. And on one of those, once you hear your old illustration, there used to be this show, I don't know if this thing is still on, 60 Minutes. It was kind of like a Dateline type of show. It was like a news hour-long thing. And they were doing this thing on, it was like a Valentine's Day special about marriage and relationships in America. And they interviewed her, and they say, Zsa Zsa, what have you learned about marriage? Certainly you are an expert, having been married now 9 times. Now, that's a question I actually like asking somebody who's been married for their 50th wedding anniversary. That's a great question to ask somebody who's been through 50 years of marriage. I'm not so sure Zsa Zsa is a marriage expert. Divorce expert, maybe. Like, I'm sure she's got every tip in the book for what to do in divorce. I'm not quite so sure she's the leading expert on marriage. She's got a lot of experience. Agreed, right? I'm not sure, though, that there's been learning from experience. And I can pick on her now because, of course, she's passed away. There's a biblical principle here, though. that applies. It's a little too vulgar to read, but it's an illustration over in Proverbs 26:11, which simply talks about how dogs oftentimes eat things, realize it was something they shouldn't have eaten, they get rid of that thing, but then later they come across that same thing again, not in like kind, but actual same thing on the floor, and they go, that looks delicious, and they eat it once again, only to realize what happened last time is about to happen again. I didn't make up the illustration. Take it up with God if you don't like the vulgarity or the crudeness or crassness of the illustration. Just simply putting, that happens again and again and again. That's a great, vivid illustration for what happens oftentimes in relationships. People break up. They really say, this really wasn't working for me, and so they relationship, and then they come right back to it once again and again and again. It's funny how that almost works. Hey, the application you can make on your own. So oftentimes, though, we go back to the same thing thinking next time will be different, when in reality it's something we've already cast out. Misleading assumption number 2. I know better, therefore I will do better. And just to begin off, if you were with us last year, we talked about how the reason why we make regrettable decisions typically is not because we didn't know something. We didn't make an analytical choice. It was because we had some kind of temptation in the moment or emotional moment where we made a bad decision because of either temptations or emotions. So the whole idea that I know better, so therefore I will do better. All right, I'm trying to lose weight right now. My weight goes up and down. I'm kind of like Oprah Winfrey when it comes to weight. I just go up and down all year long. But one of the things, it's a big thing. I'm very frustrated with the fact that how much exercise it takes to burn calories. Like if you've ever been on a treadmill, you'll be going for 20 minutes, about to die, and it'll be like, congratulations, you burned 80 calories. And then you go look at like those healthy fudge-sickle snacks or pretzel snacks, and you're like, 13 of these, 120 calories. Like, you kidding me? I've got to work almost twice as much on the treadmill just to knock off 13 pretzels? Now, I'm sure this all made sense to God back in the Neanderthal days or early days whenever humanity was really struggling to find food. I just wish that somebody had said to God, hey, God, someday it's not going to be so hard to find food. It's going to be, pretty prevalent right now. I mean, they're going to find it everywhere. Shouldn't you kind of like adjust this a little bit at some point in the, history of humanity? No, they can figure it out. Anyways, I say all that to say, I'm trying to do really good, eat right. But one of the kids had a friend over last night. We're like, oh, we're going to bake cookies. I know better, okay? I know myself. I even know my temptations. So I know that I shouldn't eat it, but I also know that if I go in the kitchen, I will have one, right? If I even smell it, I'm going to have one. So what I do, you'd be proud of me. I went downstairs and I worked out. I'm going to work out while they're cooking up there, and then my wife and I went in and we watched a movie or something like that. And so later on, right, once the smell was gone, we come out, right? Or she comes out. I'm like, I'm not going to the kitchen the rest of the night. No, I know there's cookies in there. I can't handle it not going in there. I have issues, okay, when it comes to this kind of stuff. But I hear from the other room, my wife say, oh, they burned them. And I'm like, oh, well, now I can go in the kitchen because there's no temptation because they're burnt. But, even in a burnt cookie, you know what I'm going to say? The center still has a perfectly cooked morsel in it, right? That didn't occur to me until I looked at the cookie and realized, And so, yes, I ate some cookie centers. Just because I know better doesn't mean I'm going to do better. Because decisions aren't always made based on your knowledge. They're made by temptation. And they're made by emotions in the moment. And just because you know you shouldn't do it doesn't mean you're going to make a better decision. If you've ever taken a Dave Ramsey class, you'll hear Dave Ramsey say, financial management is 10% knowledge, 80% or 90% behavior. It would be funny if he said 80% behavior. You'd be like, oh, your math doesn't even right up. No, it's 10% knowledge, 90% behavior. So why is it that a Dave Ramsey class is effective? Why is it that all small groups are effective? It's not primarily knowledge-based. As a matter of fact, we have small groups that aren't knowledge-based at all. We call them table groups. And you might look at that and go, well, why would you have isn't the whole purpose of meeting together in a small group to learn something, whether it be about marriage or about finances or something about the Bible? Isn't that really the whole point of small groups? No, that's not the primary reason for small groups. Sunday morning, we focus on knowledge because I can disseminate knowledge here. I'm educated in this and trained in this and disseminating knowledge. Small groups is about behavior modification. My wife and I, we do a dancing small group this past couple years with Pastor Chris. It's wonderful. I highly recommend something like that. it forces us to have a date night every single week. You might say you want to, but a small group has the accountability structure that pushes you to do it. You might say you want to get out of debt. What the small group does, it doesn't just teach you how to get out of debt. I mean, you all know how to do it. Quit spending so much and save a little bit more. I mean, it's pretty easy. But it's the behavior modification that the small group does for you. That's why we do small groups every year. There's all of them coming up. You'll probably hear announcements about it coming up here soon. It's all about behavior modification. It's not about knowing better. It's about doing better. Proverbs 22:3 says, the prudent sees the danger and they take refuge. However, the simple keep on going and pay the penalty. You know, the prudent knows there's cookies in the kitchen. You don't go in there. It was foolish of me to walk into the kitchen. I shouldn't have gone in there. And some of y'all think, I know the danger. I won't fall for it this time. It wasn't that you didn't know the danger. It's that you didn't have the willpower or the restraint to deal with it. Well, we can go and hang out, and I'm not going to make the same mistake in this relationship as I made in the last relationship because I know better. It wasn't know better that got you in the relationship issue in the first place. It was the temptation issue. Proverbs 14:8 says, the wisdom of the prudent gives thought to their ways, but the folly of fools is deception. Thinking through why was it that Lucy was pulling away the ball? It's because you hurt her feelings about football. The prudent gives thought to his ways. Why is it she keeps on doing this? If you'd thought about it, maybe you would have thought, I need to apologize. Oh, let's see. Oh, one little side note before you look at the exception on this rule for these last two. It's not that experience isn't valuable. Keep in mind, most misconceptions, most deceptions are mostly true. It's the piece that's not true that gets you, right? It's experiences that we haven't evaluated and actually learned from that's the issue. Just because you have experience doesn't mean you learned anything. And just because you know something, and just because you learn from the experience doesn't mean you're actually going to be able to apply it or have the power to or the ability to apply it the next time around. Now we get to the third one. The third one's a tough one. Misleading assumption number 3 is time is of the essence. The clock is ticking. I'm not getting any younger. I don't want to miss this opportunity. Fear of missing out. How long, how many chances am I really going to have at my age? And so on and so they go. Life is passing me by. I've got to get on this. Now, the converse side of this is we know that patience is a virtue. I'll also say it's a biblical value. I could stand up here for the rest of the time we have this morning and just read you Bible verses on how God tells you need to be patient, you need to be patient, you need to be patient. I'm just going to read a couple of them. And I'll tell you, we don't really like any of them because we don't like being patient. Proverbs 21:5, the plans of the diligent, in other words, those who are just steady plodding, day after day, just work at it and grind it, surely lead to abundance. But everyone who is hasty, running after something, going really quick, only comes to poverty. Financial poverty, relational poverty, etc. You try to rush into something, it's going to go south quick. Then there's this one. I got to read it to you, then I got to tell you how I always picture it being read. I'll read it to you. Psalm 37:7. You almost hear the peaceful music, streams flowing in the background, birds chirping on a sunny day, as the voiceover says, "Be still before the Lord and wait patiently for him. Do not fret when people succeed in their ways, when they carry out their wicked schemes." Doesn't it just sound like something you'd read out of the Psalms, right? But it's one of those verses, though, that somebody will mistakenly read you. Maybe you have one of those things where, you're going through issues, you've been divorced, and you're in the dating scene, and then you're trying to live principled and morals and by all the guidelines you ought to live by, and then you watch your other friends who get on the dating apps, and they go out there, and they sleep around, and sure enough, so-and-so, they're getting married, and here I am. And you wonder, how is this fair? And somebody comes in, and they try to comfort you with this verse. And remember what the Lord says. You need to be still before the Lord. Wait patiently for him. Do not fret when other people succeed in their ways. That's about as far as they get before you smack them, right? That's just, I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that, right? But God is continually saying, be patient. Can you trust me? Can you trust me if you do things my way and wait? It'll be okay. Ecclesiastes 3 has a whole explanation of this, but he starts off and he says, there is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the sun. 2 truths you need to know about seasons. They cannot be rushed, but they will change. Okay, winter, for all intents, you never know when winter's going to start in Virginia Beach. It started, right? Winter's here. It's here to stay. We got false winter, fake winter, short winter, quick winter. Sometimes we almost have no winter. Sometimes winter's like a weekend or a couple of weekends. But when I looked at the 10-day forecast, and it was never getting out of the 30s. Like, okay, winter's here, right? How long is it going to last? I don't know. You've been in Virginia Beach a while. Sometimes March is nice. Sometimes it's after Father's Day before we actually get warm weather. I know because we do baptisms in early June, and I get out there in the water, and sometimes it ain't cresting over 65 degrees, and we're getting out there in the water. But the seasons will change, but you can't rush them. You cannot rush a season. And he's explaining this, the seasons you go through in your life, grief, divorce, loss, it's a season you're going to go through. You can't rush the season. You can't hurry through it. It says elsewhere, I can't remember the passage, it says, you can't hurry love. You just have to wait. I couldn't find it. I looked up in the reference. I couldn't figure out where it is, but I know it's in there somewhere. I remember when I was going through, unfortunately, I went through these 2 seasons alone. If you have a spouse that passes away, you go through both, the loneliness and entry into singlehood and grief simultaneously. I remember asking somebody, how long will this go on, right? I mean, the whole notion that time will heal all wounds is not true. Once again, that's a misconception. The truth is, it takes time to heal, okay? Time alone is not going to heal anything. If you just sit around and twiddle your thumbs and wait for time to go by and you don't do all the work that it takes to heal, you're not going to recover or heal from anything, right? A lot of people say, well, how long does recovery take? As long as it takes. That's the answer. I can't tell you how long it takes. It depends on whether or not you're working the recovery, whether you're working through your grief, whether you're giving yourself time. However, somebody did tell me minimum 4 months, healthy up to 2 years. And when I'm talking about grief per se, I'm not saying you're not going to deal with grief after 24 months. What I'm saying is the intensity of it in which it consumes you and it's your all-consuming focus and you are not relationally healthy enough to pursue a future relationship or not stable enough to make wise choices because this is still a burden that you're carrying, 4 months to 2 years. I remember hearing that and going, how can I get on the 4-month plan? Is it possible that just because I'm ahead of the game as a pastor and I know more about life and emotions and I've studied this more, can I cut that down any? No. You can't cut down winter. You can't make winter hurry up and get gone. You can't cut it down. And if you try to hurry up that which is seasonal, you're going to be wearing a bathing suit in the winter. And you're going to think that one warm day you had is the time to go out and reseed the lawn. No, it's not. Winter's not over yet just because you had one brief day, one brief epiphany of sunshine come in. Winter's not over in mid-February. You know how we get that like one day in February where it's amazing, right? Oftentimes like February, March, somewhere in there, there's going to be one day you can go to the beach and you're going to tell yourself, winter's over. Only to look at the 10-day forecast and see, no, it's not. You're going to have times where you're thinking, I'm ready to get in a relationship. No, you're not. I was surprised when I got back into the dating pool, the number of people who their separation isn't even to where the person's moved out yet and they're already back in the pool, right? Like, really? That's a little quick, don't you think? Well, time's of the essence, you don't want to put off. Is it any wonder that we have so many words for somebody who jumps in a relationship too quickly? Like most of you all know rebound relationship. There's several others. There's rebound relationship. There's transitional relationship. How would you like somebody to be like, well, what are we really? Well, this is just a transitional relationship for me. You're kind of like a space holder. Another one is a dating distraction. Just need a dating distraction. Or my favorite was, it was just a Band-Aid romance. Yeah, the problem is that Band-Aid is still floating around in your pool. Hovering around. See, you can just keep going with the metaphor if you want, right? Just keeps on lingering by into your Twitter feed or your Facebook feed or your DMs, whatever. That Band-Aid just coming back. Is it any wonder that 3 times in Song of Solomon, the advice that is given is, do not awaken love before it's season. Before it's the right season. You can't jump ahead. You can't skip this process. Time is your friend. not your enemy. But I know you're going to feel the opposite. I'll finish out with the advice I gave my son. I said, listen, son, if dating has taught me anything, time is always on your side. That girl that you were in love with who turned you down to marry some other guy, just wait. Chances are that marriage won't last. She'll be divorced, her standards will be lower, and you're going to have a great shot. It's funny because it's true. Play the long game. Anybody will tell you, though, loneliness is better than misery. Desire is better than payments. Wait on the Lord. Trust Him. What you're really saying when you don't wait is, God, I can't trust that you'll come through if I wait on your time frame. So I got to take what I can when I can because I don't trust that you'll come through in the end. I don't think you'll make good on your offer. That if I wait patiently on you, you will come through in due time in the proper season. Let's pray. Father, I thank you for your grace over us, that you give us the opportunity to start again, that you've set up our life in a cyclical manner with days and weeks and months and years and seasons, reminding us that we can start again and start again. And after every fall and winter becomes a new spring. It's the metaphor that you've given us for our relationship with you. That no matter how many times we fail, and how many falls we go through, there is a spring that comes. Your resurrection that is given, and the invitation to share in your communion. May we take you up on this, Father, and start again with you. And in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.